Shelly Knotek, an abusive mother from Washington, was sentenced to just 22 years in jail after being found guilty of killing two of her children in 2004. She only served 18 of these years in prison. It seems that Michelle Shelly Knotek had a wonderful life. She was raising her three girls in a house in rural Raymond, Washington, with a loving husband at her side. They invited friends and family who were struggling to live with them, and the couple was well known for their kindness. Then those visitors started to fade away. Kathy Loreno, a former friend of Shelly Knotek's, was the first person to disappear while under her care. Before Knotek vanished in 1994, they had shared her house for 5 years. Loreno just started a new life somewhere else, Knotek told anyone who inquired. When two other persons disappeared from her house as well, she said this. At last, the three daughters of Shelly Knotek bravely shared a terrifying story. Their parents had brutally tortured all three of them, and their house guests had been murdered. Hello viewers, today in this video, we will discuss the chilling story of Shelly Knotek, the serial killer mom who now walks free. So hold your seat belts and let's begin the video. They stated Knotek had made people jump off the roof, washed their open wounds in bleach, made them drink urine, and starved, drugged, and tortured her victims. Despite being apprehended and imprisoned in 2004, Shelly Knotek was only there for 18 years before being freed in November 2022, leaving her daughters afraid of what might happen next. Shelly Knotek's tortured early life. Michelle Shelly Knotek was born in Raymond, Washington, on April 15, 1954, and she never went far from her hometown. She was only 2 hours north of her birthplace, not even during her 18-year prison sentence years later. During their early years, Knotek, the eldest of 3 siblings, and her brothers lived with their alcoholic and mentally ill mother, Sharon. Sharon had become involved in a risky lifestyle, including drinking excessively, and some family members suspected that she was a prostitute. The house was far from stable anyway. Their mother then apparently left them when Shelly was 6 years old. But instead of taking care of her younger brothers, she tortured them. After that, the kids moved in with their dad, Les Watson, and his new wife, Laura Stallings. Olson called Stallings a beautiful woman who represented 1950s America, and Watson a dynamic, prosperous businessman. Stallings did not appeal to Shelly, and she often expressed anger for her stepmother. Sharon Todd Watson passed away when Shelly was 13 years old. At the time, Sharon was living with a man, as Les Watson explained. They did not have a place to live. Drunks. Trash row is where they live. She was brutally beaten. According to Stallings, Shelly never once asked about her mother. Rather, she continued in torturing her brothers, accusing them of not doing their homework or starting arguments frequently. Her brother Paul's ability to manage his urges and lack of social skills didn't help too. Shelly did all the talking, while Chuck, her other brother, never spoke for himself. However, Stallings then stated that it was more than just childish fighting. She would break up pieces of glass and insert them into the bottoms of the children's shoes and boots. What kind person would do that? Shelly Knotek was not a victim, but she played the part. In March 1969, 14-year-old Shelly demonstrated her full potential. Her absence from school was evident. Stallings and Watson called the school in a panic and were informed that Shelly was in a juvenile prison facility. But the reality was nothing like what they had feared. Since Shelly Knotek had accused her father of rape, she was not in danger. Later, Stallings found in Shelly's room a dog-eared edition of True Confessions with the bold headline, "I was raped at 15 by my dad." Later, a medical check verified Stallings' belief that Shelly had lied about the rape. A number of pointless sessions with a psychologist were arranged for her, both alone and with her family. She was innocent, but Shelly would not believe it. She eventually moved with Stallings' parents, but unfortunately, she maintained in her attempts to destroy the lives of everybody around her. She promised to watch the neighbors' kids, but she blocked them in their rooms with bulky furniture. Her tempers continued. She married twice, had two daughters, Nikki and Sammy, and continued to be manipulated and abused into adulthood until meeting Dreambed Knotek, a construction worker and Navy veteran, in the spring of 1982. In 1987, 5 years later, the couple married their lives together. The next year, Shelly Knotek welcomed her first victim into their home. Growing up in the Knotek household and suffering frequent, brutal abuse. In 1988, Shelly Knotek's first victim moved permanent residence in her house. He was Shane Watson, her 13-year-old nephew. Shane's mother was impoverished and unable to care for him, while his father, a member of a biker gang, was imprisoned. Knotek very immediately began torturing Watson. She called her method of criticizing him wallowing, and she used it for things as trivial as using the restroom without asking permission. Wallowing meant giving the kid, as well as her girls, instructions to stand outside in the cold, nude, while she threw water on him. Nikki and Sammy, Shelly's oldest daughters, were further humiliated by her orders to give her handfuls of their pubic hair. Living in a dog kennel was another common aspect of their wallowing. Once, Shelly shoved Nikki's head through a glass door. "Look what you made me do," she said to her daughter. At the time, Shelly's little girl Tori was the only person in the house. She didn't mistreat. Sadly, that would alter in the future. As she laughed, she made Nikki and her nephew dance in the nude together. She would inject her children and nephew with love bombs of pure affection after hurting them. Only a few months after Shane moved in December 1988, Shelly welcomed Kathy Loreno, a childhood friend who had lost her job, into the house. Shelly welcomed her lifelong friend with the same warmth and positivity that she gave to most people. However, Loreno would quickly learn, like many others before her, that Shelly Knotek's mask was easily removed. Shelly soon turned Loreno into another victim, but since she had nowhere else to go, she consented to sleeping close to the boiler in the basement, doing forced labor while naked, and receiving sedatives every night. Then, in 1994, Shelly Knotek graduated to murder. How Shelly Knotek murdered 3 people who were all close to her. Loreno had lost almost 100 pounds by this point. She had wounds, bruises, and sores all over her body. She was left unconscious in the basement after one very severe assault. David heard guttural sounds coming from the laundry room, but Shelly was gone. He discovered Kathy with her eyes rolled back in her head, choked on her own vomit. After flipping her onto her side, David began using his fingers to try to remove the vomit from her lips, but to no avail. Following 5 minutes of cardiopulmonary resuscitation, Kathy Loreno's death was confirmed. "I know I should have called 911. David later recalled, "But with everything that had been going on, I didn't want the cops there. I didn't want Shell in trouble, or the kids to go through that trauma. I didn't want this to ruin their lives or our family. I just freaked out. I really did. I didn't know what to do." Michelle convinced her husband and children that, if they notified anyone about Loreno's passing, they would all be imprisoned. Dreambed Knotek burned Loreno's body at his wife's instigation, and he and Shelly then dispersed the ashes. Shelly Knotek only told that Loreno had fled with her lover, if anyone inquired. However, Shane saw the actual horrors in his surroundings, thus he decided to leave in February 1995. When Kathy was still alive, sitting in a freezing basement, next to the radiator, hungry and battered, Shane had shot pictures of her. After showing Nikki the pictures, he explained his strategy to her. He would show the police. However, Nikki notified her mother about the pictures because she was afraid of what might occur. Shelly ordered David to shoot Shane in the head as payback, and he did. Like Loreno, the couple burned Shane's body in their yard and scattered his ashes over the water. Shelly Knotek stated, "Even though I love Dave, he's just a very weak man, which is why my mom was able to control him. He is without a backbone." He truly would have been a wonderful husband to someone and might have had a happy marriage, but instead he simply had his life destroyed. The Knotek stole another victim, Ron Woodworth, a friend of Shelly Knotek, who moved in 1999, before justice found them. The abuse quickly began, just as it had for the others. Before justice could find them, the Knoteks took another victim, Ron Woodworth, who was Shelly Knotek's friend and had moved in 1999. As with the others, the abuse started soon after. Shelly didn't allow him to use the bathroom, so he was instead forced to go outside. Perhaps coincidentally, perhaps not, McClintock died from a head wound he allegedly suffered after falling in his home. Police, however, were never able to officially link Knotek to his death. Back at her home, Knotek demanded that Woodworth cut ties with his family, forced him to drink his own urine, then ordered him to jump off the roof. He didn't die from the two-story fall, but it left him badly injured. As a treatment, Knotek poured bleach over his wounds. In August 2003, Woodworth succumbed to the torture and died. Shelly Knotek hid Woodworth's corpse in the freezer, telling his friends that he had gotten a job in Tacoma. David Knotek eventually buried him in their yard, but it was Woodworth's disappearance that led now 14-year-old Tori to realize what was really happening in her home. Her older sisters had moved out by this time, but when Tori told them what she believed had happened, they urged her to gather Woodworth's belongings so they could make their case to the authorities. She did. The Knotek sisters turned in their mother. Police investigated the Knotek property in 2003 and found Woodworth's buried body. David and Shelly Knotek were arrested on August 8th of that year. While Tori Knotek was placed in her sister Sammy's custody, David Knotek confessed to shooting Watson and burying Woodworth 5 months later. He was charged with second-degree murder for shooting Watson. He served 13 years. Michelle Knotek, meanwhile, was charged with second-degree murder and manslaughter for the deaths of Loreno and Woodworth, respectively. She was sentenced to just 22 years. It didn't take long for her family to begin fearing what might happen upon her eventual release. If she ever turns up on my doorstep, Sammy said, I can just see myself locking all my doors and barricading myself in the bathroom to call the police. Nikki and Sammy are now in their mid-40s, living in Seattle. Tori, however, needed a change of scenery and moved to Colorado. In 2018, David Knotek was paroled and reached out to his daughters to ask for forgiveness. Sammy and Tori have gone on record saying that, despite everything, they do forgive their father, whom they consider to be just another of Michelle Knotek's victims. Nikki, however, did not accept her father's apology. For her, the abuse was unforgettable and unforgivable. Then, finally, after serving only 18 years, Shelly Knotek was released from the Washington Correction Center for Women in Gig Harbor on November 8, 2022, at the age of 68. Since then, Knotek has stayed under the radar, leaving the next chapter in her chilling story yet to be written. Then, finally, after serving only 18 years, Shelly Knotek was released from the Washington Correction Center for Women in Gig Harbor on November 8, 2022, at the age of 68. Since then, Knotek has stayed under the radar, leaving the next chapter in her chilling story yet to be written. Viewers, this was the chilling story of Shelly Knotek, the serial killer mom who now walks free. Viewers, what you can say about this case, please tell me in the comment box. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth true crime stories. And if you or someone you know is struggling with dark thoughts, please reach out to a mental health professional. Until next time, stay safe, take care of yourself, and I meet you in new interesting video.